Shabbat Shalom. Rabbi Robert Barr here, and I'm so pleased that you're joining me for this Shabbat service. An opportunity for us to pause, to step out of our daily routines, to gain some perspective on where we've been, where we're going, to think about our most deeply held values and beliefs. For 6 days we speak, tonight we listen. 6 days we build, tonight we rest. 6 days we take care of others, tonight we nurture ourselves. 6 days we work to change our world, tonight we are renewed by what is eternal. 6 days we plan for the future, tonight we are enveloped in the present. 6 days we eat and drink in haste, tonight we savor the taste of bread and wine and feel the bond of the world that feeds us. 6 days we teach, tonight we learn. 6 days we hear the clamor, tonight we listen for clarity. 6 days we struggle to expand our influence, tonight we are dissolved in a greater influence. 6 days we focus our vision on a task at hand, tonight we look beyond what we can see. May each of us find our Sabbath peace. Shabbat Shalom. Again, I'm Rabbi Robert Barr of Congregation Beth Adam, our bricks and mortar congregation, and our Jewish community, our online congregation. Two different sides of the very same coin. So we've been streaming services for over 10 years. When we began, we recognized it was a way to reach out to people who had encountered Beth Adam and wanted to stay connected. But given the pandemic, it has become ever more important. It allows our online members as well as our bricks and mortar members to share in a service together, to remain connected, to know they're part of something larger than ourselves. But it's not just the technology which is so important. It's also the voice of Judaism that we give voice to here at Congregation Beth Adam and our Jewish community. Beth Adam, our bricks and mortar congregation, is celebrating its 40th year this year. And while we were hoping for a celebratory year, COVID has changed our plans. But for 40 years, we've been giving voice to a Judaism that, while it appreciates the past, recognizes that our ancestors' words, ideas, and beliefs cannot define us. It can serve as a basis, a jumping off point, if you will, but it can't be constrictive. It can't define who we are because we have knowledge, information, and understandings that they didn't have. And so while they gave voice to their understanding of who they were, their theology, their understanding of the natural world, so do we have that same right and that same responsibility. And so here at Beth Adam and at our Jewish community, we give voice to a bold, dynamic Judaism that recognizes our responsibilities as human beings, that no hand is going to rescue us and fix the ills of our world. Only we, human beings working together, have the power to do that. And you're part of that community, sharing services tonight with me and with each other. Now, there are some of you who are watching in real time, other people who watch in the archives. Whenever you watch, you're part of our community. We'd love to know where you're from, so jot down, send as you're chatting, let us know where you're from. And always as you're writing, be welcoming and be inclusive. We're a community that says, whoever you are, you're part of us and you're welcome to be a member of this wonderful experience. So I'm glad you're here, and together we can share the Shabbat as we celebrate and pause as we light these Shabbat candles. On Shabbat, we light the candles. Candles bring forth light, illuminating the darkness. Candles offer us warmth, providing comfort. Candles awaken us as we reach for possibilities. As we light the candles, let us use their light to stretch beyond ourselves, touching others, bettering our world. Baruch ha'or ba'olam, blessed is the light within the world. Baruch ha'or ba'adam, blessed is the light within each person. Baruch ha'or ba'Shabbat, blessed is the light of the Sabbath. Oops. Got it. We're all living through a very challenging time. It's testing our resolve, this pandemic that we're currently find ourselves within. And I'm having a conversation, I've had a couple conversations with Dr. Cheryl Cohen, a psychologist who is a member of Congregation Beth Adam, about different aspects of coping with anxiety, mourning. We talked about love languages. And recently I had a conversation with her about resiliency. So I'm pleased that Dr. Cheryl Cohen will be joining us again for another conversation about how we cope in this age of pandemic. Cheryl has spoken to us several times about anxiety, about love language, about mourning and grief during this period of time. And I asked her to talk to us today about resiliency. That seems to be a word that is being talked about a lot. How can we be resilient in this time when what we thought was going to end perhaps in a few weeks or a few months now seems to be moving on to 6 months and perhaps another 6 or 7 months. So talk about resiliency. What is that word? And when you hear it as a therapist, what does that mean to you?
Well, I got to tell you, it's been a really sexy topic pre-pandemic. So
really?
There's a lot, So in psychology and in mental health circles, it's been more a point of focus. And, part of the motivation for that, I think, is dealing with young parents who, so-called helicopter parents, who want to protect their kids from every kind of stress or difficulty that kids face with learning new skills academically or with social relationships. And you can't have resilience without stress.
So it was pre-pandemic was parents, it was about resiliency for the children?
How your kids can develop resilience.
Mm-hmm.
So let me start with a quote that speaks a lot to what it is. So this is a quote by Maya Angelou, who we lost recently.
Mm-hmm.
I can be changed by what happens to me, but I refuse to be reduced by it. So resilience is your ability to adapt to your circumstances in the face of any kind of adversity or tragedy or trauma or threat or stress. So the last 6 months have been, for all of us humans, opportunities to develop some resilience, right? Because all of us feel threat in one way or another, and all of us are having to face adversity economically and socially and emotionally. So resilience is not that you won't experience difficulty. As I was saying before, you need to have the difficulty to learn how to adapt.
Right.
It's and it's not. The good news is it doesn't turn out to be a personality trait, like either you're born with it or not.
I was going to ask. Okay.
Yeah, it turns out to be skills, and
anyone can develop resiliency.
Yes, anyone can develop resiliency, and however old you are, those of you who are watching this, the fact that you've made it this far means that you've developed some resiliency, and and then one of your tasks actually in developing a good mindset to deal with adversity is remembering your past successes. So all the way back to childhood, if you
really
remember difficulties that you faced. Yeah. So it probably makes sense to tell you about these 5 groups of skills.
Okay.
I'm like a good article in Cosmopolitan or something. So these are the 5 skills that you can learn.
And to be resilient. Not 6, not 4, 5. It's a good prime number.
Yeah, with many subheadings.
Right.
So the first is prioritizing relationships. So having human connection is a basic need for everybody, even those of us who are introverted, still need connect humans. And Lord knows that's been more challenging in the pandemic. So we're having to use more virtual means. We can't hug and kiss like
Right.
we could before if we're physically demonstrative about expressing our care and concern for other people outside our bubbles.
Mhm.
But it's really important for you to know that you're not alone. And
Mhm.
it's really important to be able to know that you need the connection in meaningful ways. So I'm not talking about posting a lot on Facebook or tweeting, which I don't consider that intimate or genuine a connection.
It sounds not also not
'Cause it's your
necessarily interactive too. I mean, it's not like talking. Like us talking is an interactive activity. Posting online is, if there's any activity, it's pretty limited.
Yeah, right. So I realized that I had set myself up pretty well for the pandemic because yesterday I just had my book club that's been meeting for over 10 years. We meet actually on the phone. We don't even meet with Zoom. I have a peer consultation group that I meet with other therapists once a month. That's on Zoom. I have a number of different groups that I'm involved with that have all moved to virtual. And one of the best things that's happened about learning how to use Zoom for me is realizing that I can have a meaningful and intimate connection with other people.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as good as being able to hug them hello and goodbye. I still miss that.
Right.
Physical contact. But I've really been impressed with the depth of my sharing and other people's sharing on this virtual platform.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. It just depends how you choose. I know some people are a little bit resistant to it. I still talk to people, but I know we have a coffee talk in the morning, and it's become it's become very natural. It's interesting. People, I've watched the arc of it since March, when at the first everyone was a little bit stiff and a little bit not quite sure how to negotiate and the etiquette, and now it's we talk to each other. We're touching base, and we have a prompt, and it's been interesting to see there are real relationships. And what to me has been interesting, just sort of building on this, some of the relationships did not exist prior to the coffee talk. People, while they may have seen each other at the congregation or not met each other at the congregation, now they're friends, and everyone asks about each other, and everybody knows each other's personality. So building relationships is part of resiliency, using the tools that exist. That's number one. What's number two?
Number two is fostering wellness. So these are things that won't be a surprise to you because they're part of solutions for most everything. So getting a good night's sleep, having good nutrition, having physical exercise or movement, essential. Got to keep the equipment working well.
Right.
And the big news in this department really is about sleep. So there's new research suggesting that sleep is involved in lots of different things, including being able to maintain a healthy weight. And certainly it's been true for getting a good night's sleep is a good preventative for anxiety and depression as well. It's not a cure, but these are good ingredients.
Right.
So a lot of people I know since the pandemic, the good news is that they get a better night's sleep, partly because they're not commuting, if they're working. So
though I have talked to some parents for whom their sleep's been disrupted because they have to work after their kids go to sleep. If they have to, I've talked to a few parents where really when the kids were in school, where both parents work, one of them's taking turns, and so their sleep is getting disrupted. But that's, so sleep.
Yeah. Able to be proactive about mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
So that's time in, that's journaling, that's any kind of meditation, doing yoga, being able to get with yourself and quiet yourself down.
Right.
This is a place in fostering wellness where it's easy to take negative outlets. So alcohol, drugs, these are short-term solutions with long-term consequences. And so it'd be good for you to know whatever you do addictively, to be able to choose something else that would be healthier for you.
Right.
I guess the thing I struggled with the most during the pandemic is I watch a lot of television, and I have to say that not all of it is socially redeeming.
Really? I'm shocked.
Yeah, so just being able to passively be entertained by something silly.
Right.
I spend probably a little too much time doing that.
Interesting.
So the third one.
Okay.
Third one is something that we've done. So we got prioritizing relationships and fostering wellness.
Right.
And the third one is finding purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So the easiest way to find purpose is to help other people.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And Lord knows, I just heard a client who's been involved with her church group. And they're been reading a lot what is anti-racism and people wrestling with what is it that I can do. Well, a small group of them got together and they're working in conjunction with the League of Women Voters to send postcards to people to make sure that they're registering to vote.
Okay, so something active, something that's making a difference, trying to make the world better, either a small way or a big way, whatever corner they find appropriate for themselves. Right. Good.
Right. So this also is the flip side of being proactive. It's more in a receptive way, is being able to acknowledge and accept your emotions. So the big commercial that I've seen on television, public service announcement is, it's okay to not be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And bless her, Michelle Obama just came out last week and said, I think I've been running kind of a low-grade depression pandemic and, feeling kind of helpless. So I think that gave permission to a lot of people to say, yeah, I have days where I don't really feel okay.
Right.
So you can't do anything about a problem you don't know you're having.
Mm-hmm.
So
right.
the shortest way to deal with that is the first step, which is acknowledging and accepting that you feel sad,
or
feel angry, or any and all of those emotions are okay.
Mm-hmm. And it's not abnormal right now to be feeling that way. I mean, there's that being a low-grade depression or being sense of a little bit of emptiness. Because I've talked to a lot of people. One of the things I try to let them know is that feeling this is a very normal experience right now. It's not an abnormal. There's a difference between sort of abnormal depression, when people really are clinically depressed and need certain kind more critical help. But feeling down at certain moments in life is a natural human response. I mean, it is sad not to be able to hug people you love. I mean,
yeah. So hopefully people are getting that message either from groups they're involved in or television that they're watching, that this is a collective experience.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of how restrictive or open you are about being out there in the world, that we as a civilization, really, not just our culture, are facing something that we haven't had to face in 100 years.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So again, that brings back the idea that we're in this together, and you are not alone, even though you may be feeling more lonely.
Right.
So the other thing that I should make another plug for, because I know some people who are doing this, is Rabbi Burstein's meditation class group.
Right. He's doing two. He's doing some just on Zoom. On Fridays, he does a Zoom one where people can call in, and I guess a little bit more coaching. And during the week, they're streamed, and you can watch them and participate.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be a really relatively easy thing to log on to and be around some other people virtually and learn how to tune into yourself with some acceptance.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So we have building connections, fostering wellness, finding purpose.
Yep.
Embracing healthy thoughts, recognizing what. So those are the four. We have one more to go. What's the fifth one?
Well, let me do number 4 a little bit. Annotate that a little bit. Embracing thoughts. So this has to do with your ability to recast things and to be able to keep things in perspective. It gives you a greater sense of agency. So even being able to ask yourself, what about this situation? What about this moment that I'm facing right now? What do I have control over and what do I don't have control over?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the serenity prayer, right?
Right.
So accepting the things you cannot change. And the second part, really important, the courage to change the things that you can.
Mm-hmm.
So what's one thing that I could do to address this situation? Oftentimes, it may be the attitude that you have in responding to it. So do you, for example, do you tend to catastrophize? Do you think the world's out to get you? Okay, not very helpful thoughts. I have one of the best gifts I've ever gotten is I had a client when she was finishing up with me do a needlepoint that's above my desk. It's actually above that little window there.
We'll see. We can all see it. We'll visualize it when you read it.
It says, "Don't believe everything you think."
Don't believe everything you think. Interesting.
Right.
Got it.
Now, this is sometimes there's a very unfriendly conversation that's going on in there.
Mm-hmm.
About, usually, people have some version of I'm not good enough or the world is terrible or both, I'm not okay, you're not okay.
Right.
So being able to visualize something that you want, something that would feel better to you, is important to replace that catastrophizing or that kind of paranoia, rather than worrying about what you're afraid of. So I'll give you an example. In one of these conversations I've had in one of my groups, it was pointed out that actually all the social justice and hopefully action that continues to happen, this whole issue probably wouldn't have catalyzed in the way that it had without the pandemic. Because people were home, people were watching their televisions.
Right.
We have technology now that documented George Floyd's murder. So while it's scary being around the protest and the unrest, there appear to be some very good things that may be coming from all that upset that hopefully continue.
Good.
A personal example, because this is a skill that I have really had to learn, because I don't usually think about all the great things that are going to happen. I usually am thinking about what could go wrong here.
Right.
So I recently went on a vacation where I had to travel a long distance in my car both ways. And on my way home, 10 minutes from reaching home, my check engine light went on, my brake light went on, my cruise control light went on.
Oh, wow.
And in very short order, I kept going and I got home. It was like, wow, I am so glad that happened just 10 minutes from home.
Sure.
And then, while I had to spend the next day, getting the car checked out and getting to the dealer and all that, it turned out that my gas cap was just on.
Loose. That's right.
Loose.
The pressure in that it's good. It's good off. That's amazing.
Oh, wow. What a great day.
Good.
What a great day. I didn't have like a major problem with my car. That is definitely an acquired taste.
That's it.
To be able to look for the blessing inside the curse, or to look for good about the situation. So the last one.
Yes.
Seek help.
Say that again?
Seek help. Seek help. So if you're finding that there's more days than not where the bear is getting you rather than you getting the bear. That's why people like me make a living. So sometimes calling a good friend who can witness you, sometimes calling your rabbi, sometimes calling a therapist to help you strategize about how you get back on track.
Mm-hmm.
And how this is a big bump in the road, but how all of us can manage to find a way through it.
So that's great. So, and we all have the capacity. It's a matter. We have the capacity. You gave us 5 steps to do that. That we all have the ability to develop resiliency, and regrettably, I mean, we're going to need it. I mean, I hate to say that. I'm not being a pessimist. I'm just trying to be realistic. That we're going to be facing this for a while.
Most people, I think, were prepared for a sprint.
Right.
But this is definitely a marathon now.
Right.
And so being able to put good things in your life in a daily way become way more important.
Right. And you're sharing your time with us, with all of us online, with the congregation. We also then separately post these on the web, on Beth Adam's website, so people can access them, because I do think human interaction, learning from each other, and developing the skills is incredibly important as we experience and live through this historic time in human history. We are participating in something that hasn't happened in our part of the world in 100 years, and we're going to grow from it, and we can learn from it, and we can become more resilient. So thank you, Cheryl, Dr. Cohen, for sharing your expertise, your time with us, so that we can all be stronger and get through this together.
Hey, great. Thank you, Rabbi Barr. And, it helps me to help others. So it works for me too.
Good. Well, thanks a lot. Take care. I appreciate Dr. Cheryl Cohen sharing her time and expertise with us to help us understand the idea of resiliency, and that ways that we ourselves can develop that skill set within ourselves as we face and address this pandemic that we're all living through. So, as I mentioned, we've had several conversations together, Dr. Cohen and myself. And if you go to bethadam.org, you'll find them there. There's one about coping with anxiety, another about mourning and grief in the age of COVID, another with Dr. Vic Streckner about purpose. So if you go to bethadam.org, you can watch those videos again if you've seen them once before, or watch them for the first time. And also you can share them with others if you think that friends of yours or family would find them valuable and helpful during this challenging and difficult time. So we turn now from our conversation about resiliency to our memorials. It is our custom here at our Jewish community in Beth Adam to once a month pause and recall the memory of our deceased loved ones. Now, our members, bricks and mortar members, the names of their deceased loved ones, they have been sharing with us as they become members, and we have them. Members of our online congregation oftentimes email me the names to be read tonight. If you've not done that, not emailed me names or know that there's a name that you hold in your heart at this time, please share that name with each other and with us right now. It's a way of us to know that we're connected, that though we grieve individually, there's a community that supports us, that understands sorrow and loss. And we know that we can draw strength from the company of one another. As the cycle of life unfolds, just as we rejoice in new life, we mourn its final ending, the inevitable death of those whose lives have touched ours. Today, we join voices with others as we say aloud the words which help us to recall those we've lost. We remember the moments we've shared, the laughter and the tears, the beauty and the pain. Inevitably, as our lives intertwined, as we have touched one another, we've been influenced, changed, enriched by their presence. And so, as we mourn their loss, we celebrate their life. Thus the cycle continues, their lives forever marking the continued unfolding of our own. We pause at this time to reflect upon those who are no longer among us. This moment of remembrance links life to life and generation to generation. And tonight we recall those, the anniversary of whose death occur in this month of August. Mary Bell Barnett, Benjamin Carlson Byrne, Fred Bonham, Mary Ann Bonham, Guy Rudman Clark, Meyer Datloff, Janice Francis Deschat, Mark Dine, Rose Dolphin, Adele L. Ellis, Ronald H. Fagelman, I. Robert Freiberg, Nancy J. Friedlander, Jane Maxwell Gafford, Mitchell Goodman, Betty Greenberg, George Grossman, Jack Rovman, Jonathan Harris, John D. Hayes, Jack Huell, Phoebe Heimson, David M. Kagan, Edna Clark, Sophie Lieberson, Ann Marmer, Milton M. Marmer, Phyllis W. Marmer, Sanford Parrish, Alice Belzer, Samuel L. Pollock, John Pritz, Rose Romick, Nathan J. Rosenberg, Carl Rubin, Lila Pearlstein Sassler, Melvin L. Schulman, Elizabeth P. Skorpanic, Paul L. Stewart, John Strait, Vladek Sher, Sarah Thursby, Eugene Vandemert, Emil Wieser, Jules Weiss, Anna Santiago, John Williams. And we also think this night of those who've died as a result of illness, pandemic, those who've died as a result of violence and terror that mars our world, those who died standing up for the principles of justice, peace, and democracy everywhere. We think of those who have no one to recall them this night, and we think of all our loved ones whom death has taken from us. Ein b'dei hamavet hakoach la'akor ma shetabun b'lev. Death cannot take that which is locked in our hearts. With our tears and our sorrow, we remember. With our courage and our strength, we do not forget. Acts of kindness, deeds of courage will remain. Beauty created, wisdom shared is not lost. With our tears and our sorrow, we remember. Im dama'ot be'einenu, be'et evlenu, nishmo al zecher achuvenu. With our tears in our sorrow, we remember. Zeker tzadik livracha. May the memory of good people bless our days. Let the Sabbath be a time for believing in what could be and seeing with new eyes. In this serious world, let us take ourselves less seriously. In these harsh times, let us listen for a soothing word. While the world around us unfolds in an instant, let us judge each other a little more slowly. Let the Sabbath shine a light into the corner of ourselves where hope's renewed. Let us remember a reason to be joyful, a way to be gentle. Let the Sabbath be a time for opening up. Let us find strength in our dreams and trust in our strength. And now it's our custom to share a virtual challah and a wine. We do that, again, as a symbol that we're connected. That at some point, perhaps we're going to have a chance to be together, all of us. Meet each other, share food at the same table. So if you have some challah, some cake, whatever you want, melba toast, I mentioned donuts last week, whatever you want, just bring them out. In Jewish tradition, we share challah as a celebrate the Shabbat. We're reminded that challah, a twisted loaf of bread, sustains and nourishes the life of our bodies. May the sharing of the challah sustain and nurture our hunger for knowledge and understanding of the world around us. May the sharing of the challah sustain and nurture our connection to those close by and those separated by distance and by time. May the sharing of the challah encourage us to reach out to those across our rooms, across our hallways, across our desks, across the miles. May the sharing of the challah strengthen and enrich our coming week. Baruch Amal Kapenu. Blessed is the work of our hands. Baruch Hazon Ha'adam. Blessed is the vision of our minds. Baruch Lechem Haaretz. Blessed is the bread of the earth. And then if you have some wine or some juice, join with me. On Shabbat, it's our custom to share wine with family, friends, and community. It reminds us that it's not enough for us to quench our physical thirst. We must nourish our spirit as well. As we celebrate Shabbat, may this wine remind us to live our lives to the fullest and to embrace the joys and pleasures that life offers. Bruchim chachayim ba'olam. Blessed is the life within the world. Bruchim chachayim ba'adam. Blessed is the life within each person. And so we say, l'chaim, to life. My desk is cluttered. I was trying to find a place to put my wine glass down. So I'm glad you were able to join with me for this Shabbat service and to join with one another. I hope you come visit us at bethadam.org. That's our main website now. You can get information about the holidays, there are resource guides, there are podcasts, there's videos, there's all kinds of things there. There's resources that we've been creating for quite some time. So feel free to join us at bethadam.org. Explore, look, learn. It's a place, and if you can always connect to me by writing to me at rabbi@bethadam.org. And if you have questions, I would love to be able to chat with you and share ideas with you if you so desire. I hope you join me and each other next week when we share Shabbat together again. And we close with our final words. May we know blessings those who are near. May we know blessings those who are far. May this day bring its goodness to everyone soon, wherever they are. Shabbat Shalom.